this is Sarah Soiledplant and welcome back to my channel. Today I have another area of my house done. Now this is the previously known as the Calathea table. It is in my living room and this is what I set up for this video, and I will walk you through what I did. I first want to say that this is no longer a Calathea table, mainly because my Calatheas, they don't necessarily require, but I like to give them higher humidity than the rest of my plants. And before I was adding humidity to the entire house as opposed to just one particular area. So now that I have my plant room, I'm gonna have the humidity in there be closer to 60% and the rest of the house be kind of ambient humidity depending on the season and all of that. Right now, according to my humidity gauge, it is 43% humidity in here. Normally it's closer to about 50, but the air conditioning has been running non-stop because it is hot up in Michigan the last week. The vast majority of the plants back here are philodendrons or syngoniums. You know, of course I have my pothos right here, but mostly everything else is either a syngonium or a philodendron. One thing I didn't really like about the last way I set up my house was all the plants that I would see walking around my house. You know, the stuff in the common areas was my more common plants, and while I love common plants, I wasn't getting kind of the benefit of having some of my pricier plants out in the open. You know, if I'm paying these premium prices for fancier, rarer plants, I want to see them, I want to check them out, and I want to look at them every day. So I decided to take some of my rare stuff sort of out of my greenhouse and into my regular living space so that I can see and enjoy them all that much more. I took some video of the entire process and I will insert that for you now. Here is the starting point of my little banquet. This has been the catch-all location for just random things I find. And honestly, I am at the point in my move where I think I shouldn't have a catch-all table. I should just put things away the second I get them out of the box. So I am going to force this table to become a plant table and make the clutter irrelevant. Okay, I've got it cleared off. You can see I have not repaired any of the damage from the leaking humidifier that I had. There's a bunch of other little nicks and dings in it. I will eventually refinish this and sort of fix it all up. But for right now, I just want to get the plants out of the room. I've got a bunch of boxes here that I need to remove, but I want to at least get the plants out here because they've been stuck in the back room for a little too long. So here's the current status of the room. So even with putting plants everywhere, I still have quite a few in here. Now, what I'm going to end up putting on that table are things that don't need quite as high humidity. So I'm going to be putting a lot of my philodendrons, syngoniums, things like that out on the table. And for now, I am going to keep the Calathea and Alocasia in here. And I've got two lamps that were on other side of my Calathea table that have grow lights in them, and I'm going to put them at the table and then move everything else kind of over in this section because there's more light kind of that arrives right here. So I'm going to take most of this, put it on the table, and then take most of this and move it over there. So here's my first attempt to kind of get a bunch of plants on here and make them look cute. I'm sure I will move things around a bunch as time goes on, but for right now, I think this will work. So on this side of the table, of course, I have my grow lights that are aimed at the plants. I have my Hoya pubicalyx right here. I've got a bunch of cuttings that probably, you know, should be potted up at some point. That'll be a project for a different day. I've got my Syngonium albo, which has been growing like crazy this season. So hopefully I'll be able to propagate that and kind of make that a little bit fuller. I've got my varicosum up here in front, and I used a basket. This basket I actually got from a company that, you know, we were having some issues, so they sent me a care basket. And I used the care basket upside down, which kind of makes it look cute, but also is a nice platform to kind of like give you different levels. And then in the front here, I've got my gloriosum, which is looking lovely and luscious. And then in the back, I've got my philodendron Atabapoense, like my superstar. It is so tall, it is gonna need a higher moss pole soon, or at least like an extension on the moss pole that I have. It is reaching to the sky, and I actually propped this one up also using a candle. Not the sturdiest thing in the world, hoping to replace that with something a little more substantial, but that's what I use for right now. In the front, well, this one's gonna take your attention anyway, but this is one of my philodendron pluminii that is just reaching. Look how long those arms are, just reaching. And that one's still in its pot. And then in the front here, I have my Marble Queen Pothos that's just sitting on the front. And then I've got my philodendron Billietiae, which I feel like it's putting out a new leaf every single week, but I've got this on top of this thing. This is actually a utensil holder that I used in my kitchen, but my new kitchen has plenty of storage for spoons and stuff, so I don't need this. And so I'm using that as kind of a base for my philodendron Billietiae, which is enormous. And this is my Syngonium, and for some reason I'm blanking on the name right now. It's not the Chia Pens, because it's got that little, it's like called a snowdrift or snow something. I'll put it on the bottom of the screen, but I'm blanking on the name right now. But this one is also blowing up and getting huge. The stalk on this is gigantic. And I put it in this cover pot. I've had these for a long, long time, but this one is very, very droopy. The stem wants to lay flat. So I put it in there to kind of prop it up a little bit, but I will take propagations from that soon. In the back over here, this little string bean is my philodendron 69686. Just sitting in its normal pot, doing its thing, growing like crazy, being all scraggly and manic like he is one to do. So that is that one. Look at all those aerial roots. It's crazy. And then in the front here, I don't know if this is going to stay here because it's got some entrails that are just reaching, and hopefully going to turn into a nice big plant. But this is my Hoya Crimson Princess, but it's definitely got some regular Hoya Carnosa mixed in, so eventually I'll split that up. But for right now, I'm letting it do its thing. And then of course in the back, I've got one of my Ciba Blue Pothos that is also like runnering like crazy. These tend to run on me, so I'll take some cuttings and propagations from that too. But that is the entire table so far. You know, there's still a little bit of space that I could squeeze some stuff in there, but also I kind of like that it's got a little bit of room to breathe. I might put some like little things here or there just to prevent the cats from jumping up. It's looking cute so far. I can't get over how tall that Autobot is. She's going nuts. Do one final walk through here so you can kind of see everybody and how they're all stacked. Super cool. My little jungle within a jungle over here. All right, here's how I rearranged the room. I basically took all of the plants that were in the center here, aside from my propagations, and put them on the table. And in the middle here is all of my alocasias and calatheas, or at least most of them. I've got a few calatheas over here that seem to be doing really well right there, so I'm just gonna leave them. I have this fan here that's also an air filter to kind of clean the air in here. And then over here, I've got my sort of normal fan that just, you know, distributes air. I have to find a spot for my big old Monstera. I'm sure I could find a spot. I'm just trying to find the perfect spot for it. My little row of snake plants, my begonia that needs water constantly, my super sad Anthurium metarifolium. While we're here, I'll just kind of show you my propagations and kind of small plants. This is the Philodendron Splendid that I bought. Look how big this one leaf got. It's gotten so big so far. Love it. And there's another one coming, but it's a little smaller, probably because of the move, but doing really well. I've got some Monstera stondaliana cuttings that I tried to sell and nobody wanted, but they're looking super cute and they're growing like crazy. So apparently this is the way to grow them for sure. I've still got my Monstera albo wet stick over here. I'm determined to have this thing grow. I refuse to let it die. I will watch it forever, but it is in here. I've got this big old Philodendron giganteum that can only sustain one leaf at a time, and it got spider mites really bad, so it's in here now that it's recuperating. I of course have my Anthurium warwalkinium. This is the one leaf that it came with, and this little one is starting to go off. This is the one that was cut that came with it. And this is its first leaf. It was such an itty bitty baby when it came out. It was like this long when it first came out. It was so cute. And it's still floppy, as you can see. So it's growing and it's getting bigger, and look at how pretty it is. Oh my gosh. She's just the perfect little baby. I love her so much. And she does have another little growth point. So I haven't killed her yet. So far, so good. I have this top cutting of my Philodendron autobopoense that is going nuts. Look at these aerial roots. I had this in a really humid environment, so the aerial roots just went bananas on it. It did break at one point and it re-healed itself. So plants are resilient if you let them. And then over here in the back, I have my varicosum cutting. It got spider mites pretty bad at one point, which is why you see the little spots and how it's discolored. But it's getting better. It's getting better, and the new growth is doing really well. So I'm hoping to take another cutting from this and then hopefully either plant it into my current plant to make it bigger or sell it. Not sure yet. And then I will show you quick in this little container, there's a bunch of varicosums. These are just little wet stick propagations, and they are so cute and doing so well. Every single one of them is growing. This one's growing the slowest, but they're all growing. They're all doing really well. And the moss is like perfect. So eventually I will probably put that in something bigger so that it can grow high. But for right now, it's doing really well in this little container. You know, just one of these little sandwich things with the lid cracked. Seems to be doing really well for it. And then I've kind of segregated off the plants that are doing the worst with the spider mites. I've got my Monstera adansonii that have gotten spider mites before, and I ended up taking cuttings of it and just chopping it all back and dousing it in alcohol, which seemed to work, but it's gotten them again. That is my Calathea rufibarbara. There is quite literally webs all over it. I've got a plan for that along with these ones. I've got my Calathea white fusion that's still struggling a little bit, my Philodendron plauminii, the Calathea zebrina, and then of course my tiny Alocasia tiny dancer, which I cut most of the leaves off that were too far gone. But I got some recommendations on my last video for kind of extreme ways to treat for spider mites, and guess what? That's gonna be my next video, so stay tuned for that. It'll be super exciting. Maggie is very excited. Aren't you, Maggie? This display isn't necessarily set in stone. This is kind of my first stab at it. I like some things about it and some things I don't. I do really like having tiers, so there can be kind of plants that are a little bit higher and some that are a little bit lower to kind of fill up that gap and fill up the space. Honestly, I just think it makes it look really good. So I'm definitely gonna keep implementing that, for sure. But as far as which very specific plants are going very specific places, I don't know. I might move some of these around. Some of these might not do too well out here with a lower humidity and a little bit lower light, so I might bring it back into my plant room. Everything is a work in progress. Thank you so much for watching this video. Let me know if you liked it by giving a thumbs up down below, and if you don't like it, give it a thumbs down. That's okay. Why not? An interaction is an interaction. It all benefits, it all grows the channel, it's all good things. Thank you so much for watching, and I will catch you next time. Bye.